Hello and welcome you to yet another industry deep dive. Previously, we've looked at different industries, railways, we looked at cement, we looked at nuclear power. Today, we will look at yet another industry which I feel is at an inflection point and could actually do reasonably well over the next few years. So, here's a quick look at the shipping industry. There's a very, very old saying which says, "He who commands the sea commands everything." This is true even today. 90 to 95% of global trade happens through ocean ways. So, ships is actually what makes goods go from one place to another. Before we get into this discussion, a standard disclaimer: anything and everything that we discuss today is for information purposes. We will be looking at the stocks that are part of this industry, but this is not a recommendation to buy or sell any of these stocks. This is merely to understand how the industry is, how it is shaping up, what are its drivers, why it should do well in the near future. So the idea is to look at the industry, gain knowledge about it, so that tomorrow we are able to better understand or better fit into our own frameworks. Whenever new news flow comes in, we are better able to understand what does it mean in the overall scheme of things. So that's the whole idea with which I do these industry studies. We do much more detailed work, but for practical purposes, for making these videos, or for when I'm writing blogs, it's usually a much more condensed form, so that it is more useful to a larger set of people. So with that, let's take a look at the India's maritime sector. To start with, here is a few tweets, news flow that we've seen over the last couple of months. Hardeep Singh Puri was in South Korea. He was visiting the HD Hyundai shipyard, and he was mentioning that the next 15 years will be golden opportunity for the Indian shipping industry. And the idea is that make in India for the world. That is the theme that is very, very important for the shipping industry where it stands today. What we also saw was that HD Hyundai, which is one of the largest shipbuilders globally, they've planned, or they've announced that they will be setting up their first shipyard in India. And that's something which is a very welcome step. We are also seeing increasing news flow related to the shipping industry coming over the last 2 to 3 months, and the frequency of news flow has increased over the last 3-4 months. Here is another such example where we are seeing that Shipping Corporation of India has signed an MOU with the oil PSU majors BPCL, HPCL, and IOCL. Here again, we are seeing two PSUs, BEML, being contracted by Dredging Corporation of India for building inland cutter suction dredgers. So basically, the entire dredging industry is looking up. A lot of work for maintenance dredging is coming up. So something to look forward to for the dredging industry as well. So when we talk about shipping as an industry or as a sector, I want to break it up into these basic 4 components, right? So this is my categorization. The commercial categorizations could be different, But the way I look at it is, on one side we have the logistics and transportation. This is where the ships for cargo, oil tankers, etc., the big ones where we see, goods getting moved from one place to the other. This is that bucket. The the next is ports. Third is dredging, and finally we have the shipbuilding and ship repairs. So these are the four components of the overall sector. And what we are seeing today is, for the first time, we are seeing a comprehensive policy or a vision that is there, a long-term vision that the government has put out, calling it the Maritime Amrit Kaal vision for 2047, where it's also now broken up into other, shorter period components, where I'll briefly touch upon them. The idea now is that uh, shipping and shipbuilding is moving from being a cyclical industry to a structural long-term story. So that's one of the first and most important things to note. And the fact is that the government is putting in a lot of focus, and also they are backing it up with funds. So it's not mere intent, but also funds that are flowing into this industry. Globally, what we have seen over the last couple of decades is that the center of gravity for shipping has moved from the Americas and Europe to Asia, largely because of China. Because China, being, well, the largest exporter globally, most of the cargo now is to and fro from China. So a large amount of shipping now happens uh, in the Asia Pacific region. Globally, the sector is supposed to, or rather expected to grow at roughly about 5% uh, in the next 5 years, which is actually a pretty healthy number. And some of the main triggers for this growth is, obviously, there is large seaborne trade which is happening, more and more, uh, global trade. Also, what we are seeing is increased geopolitical tensions, wars, which means that ships need to be rerouted. So sometimes we see, Middle East, there's problems, so ships need to go, via a different route. Sometimes there's problems in the South China Sea. So, so there's always some disruption or the other which is happening. Sometimes there are natural calamities which is happening, hurricanes, those kinds of things. So what is now required more and more is larger, more efficient vessels. So that's one which is driving this sector. And the second is the green migration of or migration towards green energy vessels. So replacing old polluting vessels with uh, the newer green energy based vessels is something which is, again, a new uh, you know new cycle which is getting ready to play out. So these are the two main factors which is driving global, the shipping market. Coming to India, like I said, we've got the very long-term vision, which is the Maritime Amrit Kaal vision for 2047. But you know, if you have a 20-25 year vision, practically nothing will get done. So now you have a shorter term, sort of set of initiatives that has come under the Maritime India Vision 2030, and that identifies roughly about 150 initiatives to be taken and tracked very closely. The third, policy part, that is, or focus area, that is the Sagarmala program, which is a port-led development initiative, which is to use the very vast coastline that India enjoys, right? For waterways, inland waterways, logistics, and infrastructure. Inland waterways, again, is something where there is huge opportunity. India is blessed with, you know, large number of rivers. So the India has identified about 111 national waterways. So like we have our national highways, we've now identified national waterways, and the endeavor is now to build on these for mainly for cargo operations, and also at maybe some point in time you will see, leisure and cruise, etc. happening. So we've already, I mean, I was seeing a couple of luxury cruise vessels that is there in the Hooghly River, near Calcutta. Now, these may not be the big luxury cruise ships that we see on sea. These are smaller ones for shorter distances. But this is definitely an area which can pick up over the next decade, especially going by the fact that Indians are continuously looking for newer and better and more differentiated travel and vacation experiences. So this is something again that can pick up. Uh, for inland waterways to be practical and to be workable, the need for continuous dredging is going to be very important. So that is another very major dredging requirement that is there for the companies that we have. In the Amrit Kaal vision, the two main areas that the focus is the first. The headline mission is to look at being or positioning ourselves in the top 5 global maritime nations in the world, and that's a very aspirational target. The second is to look for being more green, more eco-friendly, and having carbon neutral ports. So that's another very critical mission statement. In this whole process, the idea is to improve our port capacity from the current 1700 odd mmtpa to roughly 10,000 over the next 20-22 years. Now, even if I give some amount of leeway and say that, okay, these are aspirational targets and we may not get to 10,000, even if we get to maybe 60%, 70% of that, that would also be a huge achievement. This entire transformation of the sector is basically uh, based on 4 pillars. First is the government is looking at giving shipbuilding financial assistance. They've created a maritime development fund. They've built a shipbuilding development scheme for supporting clusters and capacity enhancements. And finally, they are looking at building policies and rules and process reforms to support the overall industry. The financial assistance is twofold. One is if you are building new ships, and Indian shipyards, to be able to compete with the global ones in South Korea and China, uh, and to make them more cost effective for global players. The incentive that the government has thought of is to give about 15% for vessels which are less than 100 crores. For those vessels which are more than 100 crores, to give an incentive of 20%. And the biggest focus is going to be to those who are building green or hybrid vessels, where the support is going to be 25%. Now, this is the most interesting part, because the world is now moving more towards green ships, and that is what is going to drive the uh, next level of shipbuilding, or the uh, you know next set of ships that are going to come out. are going to be green ships, and India needs and wants to be competitive global player in that, and that is why you'll find that this has the highest incentive in the structure. So this is backed by about roughly 25,000 crores funding. There's another 4,000 crore allocation to ship breaking credit notes. Now, ship breaking is also a very, very interesting and a very uh, important activity. So when a ship comes to end of life and it needs to be scrapped, it still retains a lot of value. Roughly, the scrap value is about 40%. And what the government is saying is that if you scrap your ship in an Indian shipyard, we will give you a credit note for the scrap value, which you can offset if you build or buy a new ship in India. So that's something which is expected again to give some amount of boost to new shipbuilding in India, as well as the scrapping of ships. The next level is capital support for the shipbuilding development schemes, where basically if you are creating new greenfield capacity, or you are expanding your existing capacities, you get capital support. So that's again something which is coming through. Third is from a policy framework, I think very important. This year in September, infrastructure status was given to large shipbuilding, and what that would mean is that if you are building a large ship, you would be able to access very long term, low cost funds. So that's going to be a positive. Uh, Secondly, I think there's a tonnage tax which has been sort of agreed upon or levied. Now, tonnage tax is basically your ships are going to get taxed based on the number of or the capacity of the ship. So it becomes very predictable. Okay, this is the capacity of my ship. This is the tax that I need to pay. So it helps in planning, uh, you know, planning and deployment of the ships. Demand aggregation, like I said, just the oil PSUs, the three HPCL, BPCL, Indian Oil, uh, they're looking at about 110 plus vessels over the next 10 years to ship their oil and gas. So that's a huge requirement, and that is now getting aggregated and pulled through to be serviced by internally by some of these Indian players. So that's something which is going to be a very, very good driver of demand. Next is these are numbers from the ministry, and these are over the longer period. So shipping is considered a mother industry. What that means is it has a lot of uh, downstream impacts. A lot of ancillary companies are required to supply to shipping. Then you have uh, then you have cargo. Then you have ports, loading, unloading. The entire industry requires a lot of manpower. Uh, if you get into cruises, if you get into inland waterways, it's just a huge opportunity set for us. So great opportunity for additional employment, overall investments, capacity for ports. So all of these can shoot up significantly from here. Now let's take a look at the numbers of what has happened over the last decade. And although if you look at these numbers here, you may find that the growth is something which is extraordinary. I mean, you're looking at numbers which are 400, 500, 700, 800%. But the fact is that 10 years back, the numbers were very, the base was very low. So just as a random example, if you look at say operational waterways, we had only 3 operational waterways 10 years back, and today it is roughly 10x of that, 10 times that is around 29. Now, what can happen in the next 10 years is open to conjecture, and we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But from 30, even if we don't get another 10x from here, even if we get from 30 to maybe 100, 120, 150, even that is going to be a huge jump, right? Similarly, something which is very, very small, something like this lighthouse tourism, right? Nobody would be actually thinking of going and touring lighthouses, but that is now also, you start looking at the numbers and you see that that is also picking up. 18.5 lakh people have visited lighthouses as a tourist. Incredible numbers when you look at it. So the each and every number is showing that this India is getting its act together, and we've just at the beginning of the curve. The future is something that we truly need to sort of uh, act. We truly need to get our act together and do really well from here on. Next, we'll go on and look at some of the companies. Two things to remember. One, again, these are not buy or sell recommendations. If you like a company, if you like a set of companies, please go through, read about them, understand what they do. There's enough and more material today available. You can go to Screener, you can go to Value Picker forum, and study about each of these companies and find out more. Read the annual report. So don't go and buy a company's stock just blindly based on anybody writing something on a blog or watching a video, etc. The second thing is, I am not going to talk about all the companies that are there in the industry. I'm just taking a handful of companies just to give you a sense, and also for me to sort of cover the different parts uh, of the industry. I've not covered ports because we actually have practically only two uh, uh, reasonably big listed players. One is Adani Ports and the other is JSW Infra. But other than that, I've covered the other three areas. So first, of course, is Shipping Corporation of India, the premier Indian shipping company. Its main business is charting out or leasing out its fleet of the, vessels. It has oil tankers, it has liners, it's bulk cargo, and like I said before, it's now aggregating demand from the oil majors. After many years, it's actually doing a large capex, planning to buy uh, close to 60 new vessels. That's something which is extraordinary. I mean, I don't remember when last Shipping Corporation of India actually bought, a number of more than a number of vessels. So that's something which tells you that a sleeping behemoth like Shipping Corporation of India is probably also finding opportunity in this space. Uh, Another player, which is a private, organization, GE Shipping, again a very old veteran of this industry. This is a company which, again, very similar to Shipping Corporation. It does, charter hires for their vessels for oil and gas, bulk, dry bulk cargo, etc. Uh, it also does some offshore, work for ONGC primarily. The two important things or risks to remember whenever you're looking at shipping companies is that their uh, fortunes or their revenues depend largely on the freight rates, and freight rates are volatile. They're driven by global macros, they're driven by geopolitics. So it's something that you can never be 100% sure about, right? Nobody knows what the freight rates will be 6 months down the line. So that's something that you always need to keep in mind. Next is Dredging Corporation of India. Again, one of the larger dredging companies. The two ways, the two types of dredging we see. One is capital dredging, which is basically where you are, digging uh, deeper, you're digging navigation channels, and you're removing soil, sand, rocks, etc., uh, either on the riverbed or on the seabed, and you are creating a new port, or you're, creating depth in the river and things like that. So this is something which is, typically done once, or when you are actually, expanding a port or things, or something like that. That is when you do capital dredging. What is more recurring, maybe annually, maybe once in 18 months or 2 years, sometimes more frequently depending on usage, is maintenance dredging. So here you are basically, you're digging the riverbed or the seabed, and making sure that the depth of the water remains as required for the vessels to come in. So that is something that, this is the continuous process which needs to get done. Again, Dredging Corporation of India is expanding its fleet of dredgers, again, sort of indicating that they see good times ahead. The other company, this is a, smaller company, Knowledge Marine and Engineering. This is also into dredging, and in addition to dredging within, India, they are also, they're picking up small, global tenders, global orders. So they are doing an interesting, project right now in Bahrain, where they're doing sand mining, which is a waste to wealth kind of a model. Picking out sand from the seabed and then putting it to productive use. And they've also got a project in Myanmar for river channel dredging. So this is this is interesting. The other interesting part about this company is the green tugs. So tugs are basically those vessels which are used to, sort of pull ships when they are in the port, and sort of for very short distances, or putting them in the correct, direction and things like that. So there is a mandate from the government as well as globally to completely uh, move to green tugs. So basically, completely eco-friendly tugs from the current diesel-based ones. So Knowledge Marine has very recently won their first maiden order on their green tug program. So these are things which, interesting new things that is happening in the dredging space. The next company that I am, talking about is Marine Electricals. This is strictly not a, a shipping sector only company. This is a company which caters to shipbuilders. They've been working with, the Navy and the naval shipyards for many years, and their primary expertise is in switch gears and switching panels. And they used to work for Schneider and Siemens. And last few years they've made their own switch gears and panels. And along with supplying to ships, they have also started, utilizing their capacity and their capability to work in the data center industry. So again, data center is an industry which is booming in India. So that's something which is also very interesting. The other thing, the last thing that, in fact, which actually attracted me to this company last year, or maybe slightly more than a year back, was this Bijlify electric vehicle charging station. So I was at a trade fair, and I was looking at the product, and I found that this is a very interesting, charging station that this company has developed. And that was the first time actually I had heard about this company. So I came back and studied, and I found it to be fairly interesting. So again, this is another interesting company which is uh, working to supplying to the shipbuilding industry, and also does some work for data centers and other industrial applications as well. Lastly, the three big boys of Indian shipbuilding, Cochin, Mazagon, and GRSE. Nothing much more to talk about these three companies. Uh, Pretty much everything is known about them. The main point is that they are all now trying to either increase capacity or diversify and get into either ship repairs, uh, or getting into supporting non-defense ships, like uh, s- supplying to coast guards and other such vessels. So if India has to become a shipbuilding nation, then you cannot ever discount these three big boys who have the greatest expertise, long term experience of building ships for India and for the Indian Navy. So with that, I will close for today. Do let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below.